Hi, I am speaking with an Indigenous survivor from a residential school, and this is Allura. Say,
Hi, Ashley.
hi, I'm Ashley, and I will just be asking you a few questions about your time at a residential school.
Okay.
Okay, so can you briefly, because I do not know anything about residential schools. I, so can you briefly describe your time there?
It was very bad time that I spent at a residential school. They make us to brush our teeth with baking soda and then they rub our skin with a steel scrubber and they put bleach water so that they can make our skin white like them, but it caused many infections at that time and many people died at the schools and some afterwards. And we had to go to fields to pick potatoes. We do same things every day, we eat same things every day, and so many people have suffered from abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, and emotional as well.
Now, can you tell me, have you ever suffered from these abuse?
Yes, I did, but it is very hard to talk about it.
All right, fair enough. Did you learn anything at the residential schools?
uh, it I went into trauma after attending residential school, but I learned how to be tolerant, how to tolerate the things that are happening to you while you're attending the residential school. They forcefully make us to learn Latin, and we
Wow.
were not allowed to learn our own language or even to speak our own language.
Wow, sounds like you really went through a rough time.
Yes, it was a very rough time.
Now, the residential school started in 1870s and the last school shut down in 1996. Now, why do you think it took over 100 years for the school to shut down?
I think because the residential schools were governed by the government and the residential school system was under Indian Act, which was established in 1876 by the Prime Minister, I would say the first Prime Minister of Canada, John A. Macdonald.
Now, now I had some guest speakers, and they came to talk to one of my classes, and they talked about the Indian Act. What do you think of it?
I think the Indian Act was passed to destroy the indigenous culture and it have been never been abolished. And it had taken our rights to own our land, like the land that belongs to us, we cannot even own it, and we are forced to stay in the reserves.
Wow. So pretty much when the Caucasians came and took over your land, you've never had it back since.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds very hard. So in another one of my classes, we watched a movie called The Secret Path, and it was a Caucasian telling a true story about an indigenous person at a residential school. What do you think about a white person telling that story?
I think he can present some of the issues that the residential school survivors have suffered from, but he cannot completely understand the situation because he never went through the experience. But 150,000 people went through residential school system.
Wow, that's. Have you read any books about residential schools?
I have read one book about residential school. It was a graphic novel.
Ooh, sounds interesting.
Yeah, it was Sugar Falls, and it describes concisely experience of one residential center. Because it was a graphic novel, it did not really explain every aspect from which residential school survivors have suffered from, but I will say it was one of the many.
Now,
created using Powtoon.